Today, I want to share with you an argument that says that the awareness in which the universe recycles and evolves is available to you right now. And how this understanding actually can mitigate or loosen or soften the fear of that which we call death. Before there is me, world, cosmos, there is this quiet, taken for granted knowingness. What if the ordinary, unnoticed awareness is the very space in which stars are born and die, in which species emerge and vanish, and your own life keeps unfolding moment by moment? When you say universe, what are you referring to in reality? You don't experience galaxies directly. You encounter images, words, data, and sensations that arise in the field of your experience. A photo from the James Webb Telescope, the feeling of your body in a chair, the memory of a science documentary, the abstract idea 13.8 billion years, all of that shows up the same way as experiences in awareness. This isn't denial of physics or astronomy. It is a reordering of what is primary for you. What is absolutely undeniable right now is not a universe of atoms, but the fact that something is being known. Any picture of the universe, scientific, mystical, poetic, is already a content of awareness, a pattern appearing in the knowing that you are. We normally assume the opposite, that there is a big solid universe out there, and somewhere inside one small corner of it, there is a brain that mysteriously has awareness. Think about that. Advaita Vedanta and many non-dual teachings invert the assumption. They suggest that what you call universe appears within awareness, the way a whole dream world appears within consciousness at night. In the dream, you see landscapes, people, crises, and resolutions. They seem external and independent. When you wake up, you realize the entire show had nowhere to exist except in consciousness. So non-dual philosophies use this not to say nothing matters, although in a way that's true. No thing matters. That which is nothing matters into solidity. In any case, non-dual philosophies use this not to say nothing matters, but to point out that the fundamental container of experience is not space-time. It is awareness. Modern science tells a story of continuous recycling. At the physical level, stars ignite, burn, explode, and seed new generations of stars and planets. At the biological level, life rises and falls, mutates, adapts, and branches into new forms. At the personal level, bodies are built out of ancient stardust. Memories get rewritten, identities reshuffle, roles begin and end. Nothing holds still. Everything is in motion. So non-dual insight doesn't argue with this. It simply notices that all of this movement, the vast cosmic processes, and the intimate shifts in your own mood shows up as patterns within a single field of knowing. Sensations change, thoughts change, relationships change, cultures change, yet the bare capacity to know that change does not change. If you've ever watched your life from a slightly wider vantage point, and by the way, I do this every night before I go to sleep, seeing the way old versions of you have died and new versions have been born, then you've already tasted this. The one who remembers being a child, a teenager, an earlier adult is not quite any of those ages. There's a continuity of awareness that outlives every identity you've worn. So from that standpoint, evolution is not just something happening to forms out there. It is also what happens in here as awareness gradually recognizes itself. You could say the universe is evolving species and stars, and it is also evolving the perspectives through which it comes to know its own nature. This awareness is not a special state you have to manufacture. If I ask, right now, are you aware? The only possible answer is yes. And the answer itself appears in awareness. Before you can say, I don't feel very aware, the dullness you're describing is already being known by something that is not itself dull. So notice whether your mind is busy or still, there's a quiet fact of experiencing that does not come and go with the content. Whether you are clear or confused, the very confusion is revealed in a clarity that is not confused. So this is what many traditions mean by non-dual awareness, an open, awake cognizance that is present before any concept of me and the world, and within which these concepts arise. Neuroscience and contemplative science increasingly describe it as a background. It's a unified context in which both task-focused thinking and self-referential thinking happen without splitting experience into opposing sides. So, when I say the awareness in which the universe recycles and evolves is available to you and me right now, then what I'm pointing to is something extremely simple. This ordinary knowing that's already here prior to the next thought. Strictly speaking, even available to me is a bit misleading. It suggests a separate person who sometimes gains and sometimes loses access to awareness. If you look more closely, the feeling I've lost it is itself just another experience in awareness. That awareness hasn't gone anywhere. The me who thinks it has lost awareness is a moving pattern within what never moves. So from that angle, the sentence that I used initially becomes more radical. The awareness in which the universe recycles and evolves is not just available to you and me, it is who we are. Almost every seeker's story is organized around distance. Enlightenment seems far in the future. Truth seems hidden in some rarefied mystical state. Cosmic reality feels infinitely remote, way out there in the galaxies. Even inner peace gets pushed into a not yet. When I fix this, heal that, finish this, then I'll finally rest. But distance itself is an appearance in awareness. Far away is a mental image and a feeling of space, both known here. Later is a memory of before and an expectation of after, both arising now as a thought. So in direct experience, you never leave the present field of awareness. You only dream of being somewhere else inside that same field. That is why so many teachers insist that non-dual recognition is always already the case. They're not offering a motivational slogan. They're reporting on how things look when you stop outsourcing reality to mental maps. Once you see that everything you call distance, spatial, temporal, existential is an event in awareness, it becomes impossible to place awareness itself far away. Awareness is not an object located somewhere in the universe. It is that in which the sense of universe, location, and me, somewhere in it, arises. Here's a simple experiment. You don't have to believe any of this. Nothing that I'm saying. Don't have to believe it. Test it right now. Let attention rest on the feel of this moment, the sense of sitting or standing, the play of sounds, the flicker of sensations. Notice that whatever appears to something. There's an undeniable knownness present. Gently ask, without trying to answer in words, what is it that is aware of all this? Any verbal answer, me, mind, consciousness, the brain, is another thought, appearing in the same field. Let the labels dissolve. Stay with the bare fact that experience is happening in a kind of open, contentless clarity. That clarity has no age. That clarity has no size, no boundaries. It does not feel like a thing. Yet every sensation, every thought, every perception arises within it and vanishes back into it. Now widen the lens in your imagination. The body that seems so real as you is made of atoms forged in stars. The breath moving in and out is part of the planetary circulation of air, mingled with the exhalations of forests and strangers. Your thoughts about cosmic evolution are part of the universe reflecting on itself. All of that, cells, breath, thoughts of galaxies, is included effortlessly in the same awareness that is now listening to me or watching this video. In that sense, the universe really is recycling and evolving in awareness. Not in some grand abstract way, but in this very ordinary, intimate way. This breath, this heartbeat, this thought. Recognizing yourself as the awareness in which the universe recycles and evolves doesn't mean abandoning your human life. On the contrary, it tends to make life feel more intimate, more precious. Change becomes less threatening. Every ending reveals itself as part of a larger circulation of forms in something that does not end. Identity loosens. You can still play your roles: parent, partner, professional, hero, villain, sinner, saint. And you can play all those parts without contracting around them as the whole of what you really are. Compassion ripens. If others are not ultimately over there, separate and sealed off, but expressions of the same field, then their pain and joy are not fundamentally alien to you. None of this is a bypass. You can still feel grief, anger, delight, uncertainty, guilt, shame. The body still aches, it ages. The world still presents real challenges, but all of it is held in a wider context. The waves matter, and you also know yourself as the ocean. So, what if all this makes sense? Then does this understanding help reduce the fear of death? Okay. I believe it does. Because in this non-dual understanding, what you truly are is awareness itself, not the body-mind that appears in it. The fear of death starts to dissipate. Fear of death rests on an assumption. Awareness is produced by this body. So when the body ends, I end. But our direct experience never actually includes the disappearance of being. It only changes states within it: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. So if awareness is primary and the body is a transient pattern in awareness, then death is a change in appearance, not an annihilation of what you are. So from this vantage point, death becomes more like a scene change in a movie than the destruction of the screen. It loosens body identification. The idea that I'm this fragile thing that will become obliterated, that idea relaxes into I am the field in which this body arises and passes. It reframes loss. If everyone and everything is ultimately expressions of one reality, which is Brahman, awareness, then losing loved ones doesn't mean losing reality itself. Only a form changes. It also, this understanding, integrates well with contemplative death practice. Traditions that combine insight into impermanence, emptiness with meditation on death show measurable reductions in anxiety and greater peace and equanimity. So the fear is no longer I, awareness will end, but a more manageable concern with pain, with process, with uncertainty, areas where practice, therapy, and community can genuinely help. One important nuance here is that non-dual realization doesn't instantly delete emotional fear of death. Deep conditioning and trauma can persist even after clear insight. So texts and teachers in Advaita and Buddhism repeatedly say that insight must be integrated over time and that psychological work and explicit death contemplation help the nervous system catch up with what has been seen. In other words, seeing yourself as awareness can undercut the core story that makes death terrifying, and with practice, this tends to show up as a quieter, more spacious relationship to mortality, not as a forced spiritual indifference, but as a grounded ease.